Hi everyone, welcome to Meditation with Annemarie Part 4 of my series on coping with change using your inner power. So today we're going to be drawing our fourth power to practice, and I hope so far you've gained some benefit by looking at some of these inner powers within yourself. And of course all the powers that I'm sharing with you, there's 21 different powers out of my book Will to Wonder, Principles on the Loss and Recovery of Power, which is based on our teachings as Brahma Kumaris. So let's draw the power. Perfect. The power to be silent. The power to be silent is the ability to be quiet by choice and as necessary, not under compulsion. This enables me to filter out at will any external noise and quieten down any inner chatter. Not to be mistaken with the silent treatment or subservience. True silence is power. The most valuable gift I can, the most valuable gift I can give the world today is silence. So I am the mute button. My silence brings clarity and calm to my inner and outer environment. And the supporting virtues that can help me strengthen my power to be silent is acceptance, of course, open-hearted, tolerance, of course, benevolence, being giving, self-respect, discipline, loving, and courageous. So beautiful virtues once again. Let's start with a meditation. So just sitting nice and comfortably. Make yourself as comfortable as you can. Relax your shoulders. But make sure that your posture is straight. Like you're paying attention. Something is very interesting for you when you're paying attention. So you're sitting up, wanting to learn, wanting to know. So as you're sitting there, just check your breathing. Make sure it's not in your chest or your shoulders or your throat. Let the breath go all the way down deep into your belly. And simply release as you breathe out. This is a gentle way to prepare yourself to turn inward into a silent space, your silent space. So gently let go of the external world for just a little while, starting with any external noise. Firstly, just listen to any of the external sounds. Just see what you notice, hear. Maybe you can hear birds, cars, children playing. Maybe you have some music in the background. Now I want you to let go of those external sounds and just let them drop into the background. As you turn inward into your own mind and check for any noise. And again, just step away from it, step back like you are in a movie and you are just observing. The more quiet we become, the more we can hear our own inner voice that we may have silenced for far too long, that may only erupt in anger or fear, or maybe silenced even more by denial or ignorance. So just be still for a minute. Give yourself permission to be still. For many, this is very uncomfortable. But know that the stillness is you. So you're simply returning back to your essence, back to your own being of love, of light, of peace, of silence. And then it's not so scary. And just listen for anything that wants to come out, wants to be heard, or wants to be released. Just look at that discomfort that you may be feeling. Don't judge it. Don't fight with it. Don't push it away. Just look at it and simply breathe it out. That's it. That's all you need to do. Not that scary. You can do this. Just be peaceful. Just be silent. Just be loving to yourself. Some of this discomfort subsides. Smile at yourself for having the courage to be in that silent space, because in silence, pure silence, there's healing. So allow yourself to heal in that silent space in your heart. Tiny little bit by tiny little bit. And the more silent you become, the more powerful you will be in your life. So just sit in that silence for just a few little bit longer before we come back. Om Shanti. So, power to be silent. What does power to be silent mean? Or what does the power of silence mean? For me, silence is power. For me, silence is, it achieves inner harmony. For me, silence is clarity, which brings cooperation. because I won't be so busy fighting my own inner demons or fighting external circumstances that I may not be able to control. And when I don't turn inward enough, then there's noise. There's noise in here, there's noise in here, and we already live in a world that's a cacophony. There's just noise everywhere. And when we're used to that noise in here, out there, it's so normal that silence will seem scary because we're not taught, we're not encouraged to be silent, because there's power in that. Because I get to know my true spiritual self. I get to know the power and the peace that I truly am. That I'm not this body made up of blood and bones, and I'm not the emotions that are my physical alarm system that help me on my way. And when I allow myself that silent time, I can recognize the difference between emotion and feeling, which is another whole topic which we won't go into today, because it can I can digress. Or digress, is that right? Yeah, anyway, you know what I'm saying, I hope. So the more silent I become, the more I will hear my own needs, because I start reconnecting with my essence, my truth. And the more I get to know my true self, the spiritual self, the being within this physical vessel, that's how I learn to love who I truly am. Because I am without any physical identity. So there's no limitation. There's no weakness to the soul. The soul is beautiful and powerful. How can I not love myself when I remember that I'm a spiritual being first and foremost? But because we live in so much noise, we move further and further and further away from our truth, to the point that we can't even remember who we truly are. So we're constantly fighting to be heard. We're constantly fighting to feel justified and validated. We're constantly looking for that peace and that power and that happiness out there. If you look at marketing, the marketers are doing a wonderful job, because their job is to pull us outside of ourselves, to be distracted by material things. And if we are uncomfortable with that silence, we will gladly look and buy and distract ourselves. Or not even buy, it could be the internet, could be anything, could be whatever I look to instead of looking in here. And so, we can't blame them, we can't judge them, because that's their role and they're doing an awesome job in that. For me, and it's nothing wrong with wanting some desires, but when I'm constantly looking externally to distract myself because I don't want that silence, and a good way to know if you don't like silence is if you always have to have some kind of sound, TV, radio, some kind of sound going on in the background. If you can't handle that, that's when you know that you need to do that all the more. The best way to to overcome a fear is to face it. And although that might sound like an old cliche, it is a fact. So sometimes in silence, which does take discipline, but there's that paradox in that discipline creates that freedom. And as some of you know, in the past I was a chronic people pleaser. I was also all or nothing person. So I've had to really teach myself discipline. I've had to retrain my way of thinking so that I can retrain my way of being, so that I can retrace my steps back to my true, loving, beautiful, peaceful, silent self. And that is power. So check in with yourself. Give yourself that permission. In another video, I have mentioned traffic control. I think it was in the Power to Pack Up. So the traffic control, it's about checking our thoughts, but it also means to become silent. So using that 1 minute every hour to just slow down that cog, that wheel that's just turning, blah, 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 right? We need to slow it down. And so I need to, and that breaking allows me that little bit of silence. So I can start getting used to the silence between each thought that I create. And I hopefully, with practice, that silence will increase. So then the thoughts become less, they become more quality and less in quantity. So that becomes more silent in here. And when I'm more silent in here and in here, I'm going to be able to cope better with that cacophony out there. But I first need to silence this war going on, this internal war going on with myself. Because when and to be able to name the emotions that I'm feeling. So if I am feeling scared to go into the darkness, if I am scared to go into the silence, often people say for them it brings up darkness. So, which is why I mentioned darkness. Often when we go into that silence, if it does feel scary by recognizing that fear, that emotion, you're naming it. It's emotional intelligence. And by being able to name it, I then know what I'm dealing with. I can then work on releasing it. When I don't know, when I'm too noisy, I can't work out what emotion, and I can't work out what's my emotion and what's someone else's emotion. And so the clearer I get on the emotions that I'm experiencing, because remember, they are our human survival instinct. That's what emotion is there for. It's the fight or flight response. So when it's based on fear and it kicks in the adrenaline to get us out of harm's way or to have the strength to stand there and fight. That's what emotion is there for. So it's not a bad thing when we learn to use emotion correctly. If we allow emotion to drive our behavior, then I become a puppet of my own inner demons and the puppet of the world. So I need to apply this to myself again and again and again. I hope that makes sense. So the more I turn inward and become silent, I can allow those discomforts to rise, and rather than go, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, and silence it, because that's not what we want to do, we can go, okay, all right, I'm just going to watch it. And if it pops up and that's all I can handle, then that's all as far as I go. Next time I can maybe let it rise that little bit further. And then towards the end, after a little while, you'll realize, oh, I'm halfway there. It's not so scary. Yeah? But you're dealing with it. You're working through it. You're not silencing it, which means you're learning to clear your voice so then you can speak your truth with love and gentleness, not with force. Because remember, if we give into the noise internally and externally, then I risk becoming passive aggressive, which is very obvious in the world today. Yeah? And we need to know when to say yes with love, and we need to know when to say no with love. Because remember, if I don't say no to someone who isn't shifting their own behavior, I'm colluding, I'm reinforcing their behavior. So don't kid yourself if you think that you're being merciful or compassionate to someone else when it's really to do with your own inability to say no. So we need to be very clear. And the more silent I become, the clearer I become, and I will know how to respond. And the other beautiful thing is you're going to save yourself. So the discipline is worth it. It's worth your time and effort. You deserve it. Because the more you recognize and name your own emotions and being able to release it, the quicker you're going to pick up the emotions in others. We're not really nearly as mysterious as we like to think we are. So once we recognize emotions, we can then deal with other people's emotions easier, because we can recognize, okay, they're coming from fear, right? Anger is coming from fear. Bullying is coming from fear. Arrogance is coming from fear, right? Trying putting you down is coming from fear. So when I recognize it, then I go, okay, well, that's not my stuff. I don't need to take that on. But when I don't give myself permission to be silent, then I'm going to not know, and I'm going to get pulled into other people's stuff, and I will get confused, and I will lose confidence because I won't know what's mine and what's theirs. Okay, we've all got stuff to heal. That's life. Let me just work on healing my stuff. That's how I contribute peace and love and light into a world that is going quite crazy at the moment. So let's not contribute to it by getting confused by what's happening. Let's contribute to the solution by keep being that light and that love and that peace and that silence. Because ultimately the best gift I can give to the world today is silence. So I'll leave it at that. I hope you got some benefit out of that today. And let's finish off with a meditation. So once again, just sitting nice and quietly and comfortably, checking your posture once again, making sure your shoulders are relaxed, your neck, your head is relaxed, but that you're sitting straight, your spine is straight, you're still paying attention. So though you're more relaxed, you're more focused. And as you gently turn inward and let go of the external world and settle into your silent heart space, I want you now to bring in your imagination. And I want you to allow yourself to take a little journey. I want you to travel on a cloud. So see yourself now on the most beautiful, white, fluffy cloud. It's light, it's warm, it's so cozy and safe. And I want you to just be there, like a child in a warm bed, feeling completely safe, not even entertaining any thoughts of weaknesses or feeling bad about themselves, just having a right in the world, knowing that they are so loved. So I want you to be that child in that cloud. And I want you to just look up around you and notice that immense space, and notice the silence. complete silence. And as that child, you notice that that's not scary. There's light upon light. And I am part of that light. So wherever I go, I am the light, so the light comes with me. So realize that as you sit in your beautiful fluffy cloud, that internally you are safe, you are supported, you are loved. So allow yourself that silence so that you can recognize your own beautiful, powerful, sparkling self. Be in that silence. It's okay. It's safe. It's light. It's love. It's peace. It's soul. It's you.